Our first noon game of the year. We are here live at the Legends Pub inside the Penn State Conference Center and Hotel. Come have breakfast with us. Say hi. Let's have a conversation about Penn State football. Because here's the thing. As much as this season has been a disaster for Penn State football, as much as this season has been unlike anything we ever expected coming into a season where the team was number 2 overall in the country, and is now 3-4 without a head coach and in the middle of a coaching search which is taking as much of the attention from the national, local media, and the fans, this game still matters. It matters to Ohio State, having talked to people on that side of the line of scrimmage this week over on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. It still matters to the Penn State football organization, to the team, and to the coaches. So if you expect this to be a bad game today, maybe. But also, you can't rule it out. You can't rule it out at this point this year. But at the same time, this should be a good game because history states it will be. Now, how all of that breaks down, the X's and O's, the what you need to know, that's what we're going to do here today. It is 9:01 a.m. The doors are open here at the Legends Pub, and we're going to start talking football. Grab yourself a Bloody Mary, a mimosa, I don't know, a morning beer, whatever it is if you're a tailgater. Or how about this? Just have some eggs and pancakes.
Yeah.
Put us on while you're cooking breakfast, and we'll be here to talk about Penn State football with you. Is there a better way to start your day than with a cup of coffee and a jolt of energy talking about your favorite sports team? This is Kyle F., by the way.
There's not much. Hi to you, Frank. Yeah, that is the best way to start, is to just get yourself some pancakes, get yourself some apple juice, feel like a kid again, and start your day off with that, because it's going to be a wild ride of a day. Penn State fans coming in here thinking it's going to be a normal day in Columbus. It's not. We'll say that off the bat.
Yeah.
The weather right now in Columbus, by the way, we're getting into none other than our lovely game day forecast powered by WR Hickey Beer Distributor. The forecast in Columbus right now, it's about 44 degrees. It's going to get up to a steamy 54 in Columbus in the shoe.
You know what I call
hot,
that?
Spicy.
That's football weather.
That's football weather.
I love that kind of weather. As a former fat kid, that is the weather where you can run as hard as possible and not be drenched in sweat by the end of the game.
That's you know what? That's good.
I love that because your skin is that kind of like clammy and you're hard to grab. This is perfect football weather for going out there and playing at peak performance if you're a Penn State athlete or an Ohio State athlete. 54
degrees, the perfect football weather. That was our game day forecast powered by WR Hickey Beer Distributor here on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, streaming live on the Blue Illustrated YouTube channel. Kyle F., Thomas, Frank Carr with you here at Legends Restaurant and Bar, the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center. They literally opened the doors for us. We were in here before they opened. It was nice. It was chill.
Yeah.
We're bringing some crazy person energy today to you, Frank. We're going to have fun.
It's the only thing I know how to do.
It is the only thing either of us knows how to do.
If you're a crazy person, there's only one speed, even at 9 a.m.
Yeah, only one speed for us to run here. I am excited. We're going to have a blast. That's what we're going to do. And so Penn State takes on Ohio State. I guess we'll just start with the basics of it with Ohio State and kind of just talk through a little bit of them, because at some point we got to discuss Ohio State. Last week I don't think we got to, or 2 weeks ago, we didn't really get to a lot of Iowa throughout it. We also didn't talk a lot about like Northwestern as we went.
Well, because both of those teams have been the same since 1997.
Yes.
So like they've been the same thing. Ohio State's an interesting team this year because
they are.
I'm just going to say it off the top. I've been saying it all week, and we've been trying to remind you again here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. This is not the Ohio State team that you come to know over the last decade. Under Ryan Day especially, it's been 3 receivers, chuck the ball all over the field, get it to your future first-round draft picks in the NFL draft. They've got those guys over there.
Yeah.
But this is a different team. For the last, I'd say, 5 years, every single time Ohio State's running into, literally, Michigan, they seem to lose. And one of the reasons is because, at least in their mind, they're not tough enough. They're not physical enough. They don't have the in-the-trenches mentality. So, this year, they are running what feels and looks like, a lot of times, an Andy Kotelnicki-style offense.
And what does that look like?
Motions, shifts, 2 tight ends. They run 2 receivers on the field 48% of the time this year.
Yeah.
Just under 49% of the time. Which means they're almost exactly 50-50 in terms of having 3 receivers on the field and having 2 tight ends or more on the football field. Brandon Inniss, their slot receiver, not really a factor in the offense.
No.
The last time that they haven't had 3 receivers out there, I don't even remember the last time they didn't have 3 future first-round draft picks out there at receiver. So this game could go a very different way.
Yes.
And that I find interesting, and we'll get into more some of those details and get into some of those things that are the wild cards, because both teams, this is the other thing that's important, both teams are coming off a bye.
They are.
So as much as it's an advantage for Ohio State, it was desperately needed for Penn State. After firing head coach James Franklin, they go into the game against Iowa, and then they have a bye week. That bye week for interim head coach Terry Smith to really get his hands around and get his mind around what's going on the full team. That was something really important for him to do, and I think fans were very upset that there wasn't more bloodletting after head coach James Franklin was fired. They wanted more people fired. They wanted more accountability, which I still don't know exactly what accountability means other than being fired. Like, these are just code words for fire more people to make me feel better. They have not done that.
No.
But I can tell you from talking to them and understanding and watching the practice this week and some of the other things, yes, Andy Kotelnicki's still going to be calling plays, still going to be involved in the offense. But they have changed the offense.
They have.
Especially the passing attack. They have gone in and tried to reconfigure some of the things that were not working. And again, I'll say this, the same thing we said earlier in the year, before they went from the non-conference to the conference season. It may not work.
Yeah.
You know, like, they have changed things. It also might still not work. But, like, that's the process versus outcome that we try to underline here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel here on 99.5 The Bus is what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And then to me, like, at a certain point, when we're talking about these things, player talent level has to be part of the conversation.
Yes. And talent level is the big question here. Before we get to talent level, I want to go back to something you mentioned, which is the bye week they had. Penn State had this past week, and Ohio State did too. But I think the bloodletting was kind of quashed a bit by the fact that the Iowa game was happening. That there was no time to be like, after the Iowa game happens, you could see what Penn State's going to look like a little bit going forward. So fans could almost focus on that, and the attention was taken away from like the marching with pitchforks down to Beaver Stadium, to Pat Kraft's office, wherever that may be. Like, they were just like, okay, we can relax. And then also, whenever someone is let go within a building, it's always gonna like be a thing.
Yeah.
And the players have to kind of feel that, and like they have emotions too. So it kind of gave everyone a week off to literally just breathe, which could be good in Penn State's case. And hopefully it means the talent shows itself this week, and hopefully the talent of the receivers and the running backs and the O-line and everybody can get working, get moving, and flowing in the right direction, which we saw a little bit of against Iowa. Some things you and I highlighted of the run game worked really well against Iowa. They had 170 yards on the ground against the Iowa defense that lets up like 60-something a game. And then they also, in the middle of all of that, had 2 new quarterbacks playing. They didn't look horrendous.
Yeah.
they didn't look like me playing quarterback, to be frank.
So there's a little bit of that I'm you had a week to do it.
Yes.
So what we saw could have been a first iteration of that plan, where more could be built in. When you only have a week to install something, that's not enough time to install a full thought, a full offensive conversation. Yeah. So like, if you think of that as the first line of a sentence, the full paragraph, or the full thing you're writing, that would be the full idea of that playbook, that part of the playbook that you fleshed out over time. They had enough to get like one string of words together.
Yeah.
But I did talk to Terry Smith earlier this week, and I asked him because, you know, he had a reputation of somebody who's a no BS kind of guy.
Yeah.
And is going to tell you like it is. James Franklin called him the ultimate truth teller in the building, and he's now the acting head coach. Earlier in this cycle, you know, he had mentioned like emotions are raw, and so you're trying to just get those players to play football. Like, don't focus on what's going on. Focus on playing football. And so they had to do that and get the team back on its axis this week, right?
Yeah.
This week I asked him, so like, now that you've had time to settle in, have you had to have some of those hard conversations? Have you had to be blunt and honest with people. And he said, yes, yeah, that's what had to happen, and that's something that we've had to do in the interim. And really focused a lot on the coaching staff and focused a lot on the coaches that were a part of some of the things that fans are frustrated about. So this is the thing I guess I'm trying to say here is just because you haven't seen the public accountability does not mean it's not happening. The best thing for a lot of these things to happen is to happen internally, because you have to present a united front. You have to be a team. You have to be one singular unit. And he talked about in his first press conference taking all of the individual pieces and making them a collective. And like 5 fingers making a fist, as opposed to pointing a finger at other people. You can do that internally, yes, and it depends on what finger you're pointing at, is the escalation of the internal conflict. Just because it hasn't been public doesn't mean it isn't happening. And again, just because it has happened doesn't mean it's going to produce better results, because at a certain point the talent is the talent. And so this is the situation we're finding ourselves in today, going into a 2-game stretch against the most talented part of their schedule. What do these changes, what does this time and this reset represent for Penn State? And here's the other thing that I've been thinking about. And this is I like to have the big picture conversation up front here.
Let me hear it.
If they were to win today.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I know you're
just if.
Hold
Just
on.
if. Hypothetical.
I'm gonna let everybody laugh. Right. If they win today, what does it accomplish? And I'm not saying like it doesn't accomplish anything, and I'm not saying it accomplishes something at all. It's an open question to me.
Yeah.
What is the value of winning either of these 2 games? What is the value for the Penn State brand? What is the value for the players in the locker room? What is the value for the future of the program when everything is in flux? What is the value of that perception in the head coach search?
May I answer?
Go for it.
I think it is, if of anything it is just showing the players, showing the fans, showing the program, showing everybody, like, we can be at our lowest and still just be playing football and having fun. It can be a morale booster for literally everybody. It doesn't matter at this point. Penn State is not going to be in the college football playoff. So that's out of the question unless literally everybody starts losing football games. So not happening.
Yeah, it might not be mathematically possible at this point.
Yes. So what it's going to do is just be a morale booster, which I think everybody needs some serotonin in their life. Everyone needs a little more positivity. It has been so negative for like 3 months. It's November 1st. Has it been positive beyond August 1st? Have you seen any positivity at all? The season wasn't even going on at that point. It's only been negative.
It was pressure, right?
Yeah.
It's the pressure of expectations, which has been, I think, a big thing this year. And I do think led to the start that you saw.
Yes.
Because there was an all or nothing. For one of the first times under head coach James Franklin,
It was win or nothing.
It was win or nothing, and there was not a 1-game 1-0 mentality. There was an acknowledgement of trying to do things differently, and that pressure, I do think, led to a lot of what you saw in the first 6 games of the season, for sure.
And now it is just Penn State has something to play for, but at the same time, you've seen it all throughout sports. Then when teams don't have anything to play for, that's when they're the most dangerous, because they're just there playing the sport and they're playing to have fun. And that's something that you can't teach, because if you play football at this level, a part of you has to be like, I'm playing football. This is a game. I'm having fun doing it.
Yeah.
And that's my most enjoyable watch for any team, any sport, is a team that's just there to play and be like, we're playing this game and we're bringing back a little bit of fun and joy, and they're smiling.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of that against Iowa. A little bit of smiling going on from some players, a little bit of okay.
Yeah.
Things are happening. We're seeing new players play. We're seeing new things, and just there was a little bit of fun in the air. And that's what Penn State's playing for, is to get back the inner reason you play football of we can have fun, and we're playing football, and we're at Penn State and we're playing against the #1 team in the nation. How is that not going to be fun and cool? You're playing against the #1 team in the nation in their place. Imagine you do beat them.
Yeah.
Imagine what that looks like. The last time Penn State had an interim head coach, I know it's been said every single day forever, Tom Bradley was here. Penn State won 2014 in the shoe.
Yeah.
They, at that point, interim coach, he comes in, they win, they're having fun. This could be fun.
Well,
Football can be fun.
It wasn't super fun last time when Tom
No,
was the head coach.
it wasn't. But
just
you
as
get
as
the
a
point.
historical reference
Yes.
point. As
No,
it's
not
just,
fun.
It was
But
not necessarily the funnest time to
No.
be at Penn State.
But you understand the point I'm making of
I
like
do.
the bring the fun back to football.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought for football in general.
Yeah.
Like, this is a sport.
Yeah.
This is a fun thing. We do this because other things are harder, believe it or
Yes.
not. But also, like, absolutely understand the investment from fans and the constant letdown and disappointment of not breaking through, not being the team in the spotlight. So we'll see how that all goes.
Yeah.
Because that is what Athletic Director Pat Kraft is trying to fix. And that is what Athletic Director Pat Kraft is hell-bent on trying to rectify within the Penn State program and put them on a trajectory to do all of those things.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, let's watch some football. And we're talking about Penn State,
Yeah.
Ohio State here on the Penn State Football Tailgate Show.
Yes, let's watch some football, and let's start with the practice highlights, because, of course, the practice actually happened this week, T-Freak. There was real practice. Last time there wasn't.
Saw some
There
stuff.
was no practice last time. But now this time there was a practice, and we are, of course, here. Kyle F. Thomas, Frank Carr, on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, live on the Blue Illustrated YouTube channel. And we're here at Leicester Restaurant and Bar at the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center. Come by, grab yourself a nice morning beverage, enjoy yourself, get ready for a little bit of a Penn State football game. We're chilling, hanging out. It's a nice, crisp, cool morning, as it is also in Columbus where Penn State's playing, so feel a little bit of that. And it is now time for open practice highlights, powered up by Tri-County Tag Services.
I'm Thomas Frank Carr. This is your Penn State practice update. If you want to get the practice update as it's happening, subscribe right now to BlueWhiteIllustrated.com for just $1. You can get access not only to our coaching search information, but also our weekly practice updates as we're getting them during the 10-minute window in Haluba Hall every Wednesday. Once again, we'll be taking a look at the offensive practice field, which is where I reside during these open periods. Penn State's quarterback situation was on full display on Wednesday night, and by on display, I mean potentially entirely subterfuge. All of the quarterbacks were working in non-contact blue jerseys, similar to what they wore in the blue-white game this spring, which is a change since the bye week, which is notable. It's fair to wonder out loud if this was done to obscure the status of Jackson Smolik, who left the game against Iowa with an injury to his non-throwing hand and wrist. However, some basic things stick out. Firstly, he was working with the third-team unit, and true freshman backup Beckham Kritza took snaps behind Ethan Grunkmeyer with the second string. Run-on Jack Lambert watched with the top group. Smolik worked alongside potential emergency quarterback Liam Clifford. Hopefully he picked up some things from his big brother. All of this was done, including comments about the two-quarterback system, in the hopes that Ohio State would spend time during practice working on something that may or may not be in the playbook. Of course, we'll all find out together during the availability report later in the show. It wasn't just the quarterback situation that was of interest this week. Both Cooper Cousins and Venga Ioane were back and working with the team on Wednesday. And the Penn State offense is clearly in a state of flux. The team used Tuesday to install more plays in the offense and tried to obscure those from the media who were in attendance by having the backups stand in a line between us and the field. However, being able to observe certain things, it's clear that they're working on the passing game, and they are trying to get freshman Kobe Howard and redshirt freshman Tyseer Denmark more involved in the game plan. We'll find out how all of that works today, coming up at noon. That's it for your Penn State practice update. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. More from the Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships Tailgate Show next.
Have you heard of Wave Fruit Farm? It's this great farm market bakery and cafe. You can shop with them either at their farm in Port Matilda or downtown State College.
No way.
Yes, Wave Fruit Farm. They have all sorts of seasonal fruits and veggies.
Way cool.
No, Wave Fruit Farm. But anyway, you should visit their bakery and cafe. They serve amazing food all day.
Way.
Fruit Farm!
You know, wishing for the days of, right, players that went to class, right, like actually trudged across class in the snow, uphill, both ways, all that stuff, right? And it's not I'm not even making light of it. That was a thing. That was an era of college football, but that just went away when there were billion with a B dollar contracts signed for television rights. That transformed the sport and brought NIL into the picture and all of those things. I mean, it's just if you're okay with 8-4 and a consistent team every year, like this is the hard one. You had that.
That's like what I was saying.
Penn State was as close to that version of football, of college football, as existed in the sport outside of maybe Army, right? Maybe Stanford. Like it was trying to dance on that line of being competitive in the highest spaces, but also clinging to some of those things that were important to Penn State, that were important to Penn State's identity. And like all of that, I'm not saying Penn State won't try to lean into what it has been in the past. It will. But like a lot of that stuff is dead. It's over. It is the cycle of cycling has begun. They are going to cycle through coaches. They are going to cycle through athletic directors. They are like a 12-year head coach at Penn State. You're not going to see that. It's not going to happen again. Like transfer portal stuff, players that fans gravitated towards because they developed through the years, started as a 4-star and didn't play a whole lot his freshman year and became a senior. Like, nope, cut bait. That like, if you are not producing right out of the gates, if you are not somebody that they foresee as a sure thing, you're gone. You're gone. They're going to the portal. They're going to bring in other players. That's what it is.
Where you find those, I was just going to say, where you find those veteran players are players that have been producing at a different school and maybe even a lower level.
Kyle Left Hand was Frank Carr with you here on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, and streaming live on the Blue Issue YouTube channel on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, live at Legends Restaurant and Bar at the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center. It's 9 a.m. Come grab yourself a Bloody Mary, a mimosa, something fun. Start the day off right. And we are powered on up by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, celebrating more than 40 years of service to the community. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has a vehicle to fit your budget and transportation needs. Home of the $1,000 lowest price guarantee with 20 locations throughout Pennsylvania. And it is now time, Mr. Thomas Frank Carr, sir, to head on in to our key matchups, powered by Stalker Chevrolet. Sir, is your key matchup today people that are going to be on the Penn State football field by chance?
It is not. So here's the thing. Every single week, without fail, the key matchup is Penn State's defensive line versus the offensive line for the other team. Because there is a critical weakness on this defense where if they could stop the run in a certain week, this would be a very good defense. That hasn't happened yet. So we're going to take that off the table. That's just not on the table today. So what I want to then focus on in this situation is the juicy storyline drama, the days of our lives of Ohio State football. I don't normally care about this stuff at all. But when football people tell me, hey, this matters this week, and it's not nothing, we're going to go Jim Knowles versus Ryan Day and Brian Hartline for two reasons. First off, there is a open question as to whether or not Ohio State wants to run up the score on Penn State today. If they want to do that, they will have plenty of opportunities to do that. However, both teams are coming off their bye. For the offense, it was absolutely an opportunity to reconfigure certain parts of the game, get healthy, reassess, and find a better path forward. For the defense, they needed to come up with something new because not only is the current defensive game plan struggling, this coaching staff knows that game plan. They know the weaknesses that other teams don't know about Jim Knowles' defense. So something has to change this week. Jim Knowles has to give them something they're not expecting. With a bye week, that is possible. So it's a bit of a cop-out to say, like, it's the unknown this week, but it has to be the unknown this week, because if Jim Knowles comes out and plays his style of defense without the players to make it work, which is what's happening so far this season, it is not going to be a competitive game. And so that, to me, is they're going to have to do things they've been doing all year. Yes. But how, when, and why, there has to be some variable in there that has changed to give Penn State an opportunity to force a punt at some point. Mm-hmm. They have not been forcing a whole lot of punts this year. That's a problem.
Who is the punter for Ohio State? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't do special teams.
You know what? I do special teams, though, T. Frank, and I'm pulling up. I believe their punter is Joe McGuire. He's a junior from Melbourne, Australia. You also have Nick McLarty, who is a sophomore punter, also from Melbourne. So you've got two Australian punters out there.
Yeah.
Didn't know they existed until now.
Australian punters or those in
they're
these
punters,
individuals?
Both punters from Australia.
I mean, they've got a type for sure.
They do have a type for sure.
The ball spins differently.
Yeah, the ball spins differently. You mentioned a little bit that of Jim Knowles has to change it up, or they're going to run up the score.
Uh-huh.
I think if there's any time you're going to run up a score, it's against your now former defensive coordinator who left you because he got a major contract offer at one of your rivals.
The week of your parade celebration.
A week of your parade celebration.
Yeah.
Instead of that, he went and got a new job, and you're kind of like, you know what? Well, like. It's the Simpsons meme of stop, he's already dead. I don't think Ryan Day's going to care.
Yeah.
And he's just going to kind of let it go until the game ends, which there's a real chance with how we've seen this Penn State defense not get stops. They can't stop Mark Gronowski from running 6-something yards down the field.
Yeah.
What's stopping this Ohio State team from putting up like 60-some-odd points?
Here's an interesting thought that I've had, and I don't know that I believe it, but let me lawyer you for a second.
Go for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one thing that this team has done very well this year is stop explosive plays and to be able to limit passing games. Now, ignore for a moment, if you will, their inability to stop the run, but they have also not been getting gashed frequently on the ground. So this is a team going up against strength on strength. The Ohio State receivers versus the Penn State secondary is actually one of the most even matchups on the field. Considering that those are very, very good receivers. And I'm not trying to take anything away from those players. But if Ohio State comes out and wants to be hyper-aggressive and throw the ball, not just throw the ball, but throw the ball down the field, I do think that plays into Penn State's hands.
It does.
If they ignore Penn State's weakness to attack for a reason that isn't a calculated football reason, there is an opportunity for them to play into Penn State's hands. Now, here's the thing. Carnell Tate's catching 90% of his contested catches.
And Julian Sain's throwing 80% completion percentage
Yes.
through 7 games.
Yes.
Which, I'm not a mathematician, but he sounds really good. Am I wrong? Am I wrong for thinking that?
I believe it's very
70% is great.
Yes.
He's doing 80%.
Yes.
And let's get to their skill position players, because it's a slightly different group this year because people graduate, people move on. So their running back core, we'll start there. They've got now former West Virginia running backs, Jay Donaldson in the backfield. They also have Bo Jackson, not the don't know Bo, but it is a Bo.
He's pretty good.
And he's really good. He's a really good freshman for them out of Cleveland. And then, of course, in the wide receiver room, you have Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, who are, 2 of the top 5 receivers in college football?
Yeah.
Approximately.
And they have not been overusing them as a tool on the offense, which I find interesting.
Smith has 600 yards receiving this season, and he's not playing incredibly well. He's playing really well, but not putting up 1,000 yards already. But he's just playing really well. But he's not doing crazy things. So they exist. And then they also got Max Clare, the tight end, who came on over from Purdue. He played really well against Penn State last season for Purdue. One of the only 2 players that was good on that Purdue team was him and a guy named Dylan Tieneman, who Penn State fans don't like after he picked off Drew Aller to end the Penn State-Oregon game from safety. He's also really good. So those are the 2 guys at Purdue that were good. Max Clare is the offensive guy who was incredible at tight end. He's now the tight end here with Ohio State. They also have Brandon Innes, their slot receiver, who sees the field sometimes and makes good catches when he does. But They don't need him to be when they've got Claire and Smith.
Even
and
when
Tate
they
and
even when
everyone
they
else.
threw the ball a lot against Wisconsin, Bo Jackson saw a lot of those extra receptions as a check down player. As a guy who caught the ball underneath and then ran and did a good job doing that. But it is just different to not see three guys in the Ohio State secondary leading this team. I'm not super impressed with Claire, and it's interesting that like any other season, I would say Penn State has an opportunity to stop this run game.
Yeah.
The tight ends are not necessarily great at blocking. They got a 258-pound blocking tight end.
Kazmarek.
That I think is okay.
Yeah.
Penn State's defensive ends, if they do one thing well, it's stop the run. The problem has been up the middle, obviously. And then the right guard for Ohio State, there's been an open competition through the first half of the season. The difference is they've been 7-0 while doing, as opposed to Penn State's issues where they, tanked the season. The season kind of fell out from underneath them with some of their issues. But I think it's what is the guard's name? Joshua Padilla. Joshua Padilla might be starting this game.
Might.
Yeah, like he played a lot in the Wisconsin game. They started rotating that right guard spot, and then the right tackle's okay. I think he's a good athlete and he's a decent pass protector. Kind of generally good at football. The left side of the offensive line is better than the right side of the offensive line, kind of like Penn State. There's a lot of similarities between those two programs, even in the trenches. The problem is, like, these two teams, I firmly believe that what Penn State wanted to be this year is what Ohio State has shown on film most of the year.
Yeah.
A ball control offense, run the ball, and then in critical situations and in big moments, your quarterback and your receivers step up and they become an efficient passing attack. Penn State was never going to be as explosive as this passing attack, but be this type of program. And the difference is Ohio State's offensive line, going back to my original point here, is that their line was better to run traditional concepts than Penn State's was. Because Penn State's offense last year benefited greatly from the option offense, from the presence of Tyler Warren as an option RPO and as a wildcat quarterback. There were so many other things that were taking heat off of the main part of the offensive run blocking unit, right? The tight end and the offensive line, that it gave them better angles, gave them better opportunities. This year, when Aller was under center, they were trying to run a traditional style offense, and it didn't work. So that is why, now getting into the other side, why they put Jackson Smolik on the field last week, why they pivoted to that two quarterback system. Ohio State hasn't had to do that. But like, what's the path forward for Penn State? It's that they could theoretically, hypothetically, potentially have a better time of stopping the run in this game than they have in previous games. I don't believe it. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
But after a week of having time for a new plan, I'm trying here.
You're really trying.
I'm really trying. Especially if they put Joshua Padilla on the field, because I thought 77 for Ohio State was with a weak link and not athletic enough to use his size and power, which is why he was out there, to be a difference maker. And if they've got another player up front, that changes, I think, a lot for them as a run blocking unit, allows you to run both ways. But that is that's what has to change, is the defensive game plan up front. The key matchup is, how are you stopping the run? How are you filling your gaps? And how are you allowing Zane Durant to be a playmaker? Because one of the things, and maybe this is a good time to kind of take a step back and look at the season so far and some of the miscalculations, right, about this team.
And let's start with the D-line, because that's where most questions or intriguing part is.
In the offseason, talked to Jim Knowles about, he talked about running plays, specifically running plays for players. And Denai Dennis-Sutton, Zane Durant, these are guys that you mentioned as far as guys worthy of running plays for. Obviously, Tony Rojas is on that list as well. But when you look at, like, players worth running plays for, those are it's fair that those are the seniors.
Yeah.
But if you were to say who are the athletes you would want to run a play for, I wouldn't necessarily pick Denai Dennis-Sutton.
He's not. The difference between him and Abdul Carter is Denai is a great pass rusher and he's a great player, but he's not explosive.
Yeah.
Like, that was what Abdul Carter brought where he and like even Chop Robinson, where they are just athletic human beings. He's not. Like, you could see it where he's big and he's strong and he's incredible, but he's not like a next level type of athlete where he's running what Abdul Carter does. And Abdul Carter's leading rookies.
So they call it running the hoop. When you're a pass rusher, the goal of your pass rush, the path you take to the quarterback, you need to shorten it to the shortest distance possible.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, there's an arc that you need to take, and Deny can't shorten that curve with his body type.
Yes.
Like there is just a physical limitation there where he is a tall, long,
big,
but not bendable athlete. And so watching some of the plays they have set up for Deny Dennis Sutton, where you are then throwing a Zane Durant and a Xavier Gilliam at the offensive line to occupy blocks so then he can come for the defensive end spot and loop around into the middle of the defensive line. He physically cannot run that the same way Abdul Carter did. He can't make that turn to then pressure the quarterback and run straight at the quarterback instead of at an angle where the quarterback can just slide the other way and suddenly he's out of Deny's path. So those are the things when you're talking about this defensive line and designing around those players. I don't know. Again, I don't know who you would design around, or maybe it's the way you design around, but that has to change.
Can I guess one player you could? Of course, he's very young.
Yeah.
But seems like he's got the body type to do it. Would be a Chaz Coleman. Like, am I crazy for saying like, he's young, but like the body type, the speed, the athleticism, he's got it.
Yes, but he does not have the strength. That's the problem. Is like
he's young.
We've seen him against Big Ten competition now, and some of his moves are not working the same way as they did in the non-conference season.
Spoiler, Big Ten players are better than players at
yes,
Villanova,
but there
instance.
are other ways to get him against a running back. There are other ways to move him around the field athletically. It is just a bad situation when you don't have Max Granville, who was going to be that.
He was.
I think would be that guy, and isn't there this year because he was injured in the offseason. So the way you design plays around these players, first off, it's not the same caliber of athlete or type of athlete because you can design things around power players. You can design those things. You can make different plays for a speed defensive tackle, an athletic defensive tackle. And I think the miscalculation by Jim Knowles was that even if he's a little bit out of position, Zane Durant is enough of an athlete that he can play within this system and be successful, and that was not the case. So what have they done what has Terry Smith sat down, had those hard conversations about this isn't working, we need to find a new plan, and then what plan did they work on? What is that to me? Like, there has to be a pivot on the defense with the defensive line and the linebackers, because we're talking about the root problem. The end result is Dom DeLuca is in the path of a freight train, which is the offensive line, and you've seen the results. He's part of the problem, but he's not the core issue of the problem. Because if you had a defensive line that was taking up all these blocks and he was able to run to the football, he would miss some tackles, but he is a good enough player to know where to be and to make a play and to not be a liability in a positive situation. But in a negative situation, he is going to emphasize the negative situation.
The offenses are taking advantage of Penn State's weakness on that defensive line and then emphasizing on it by then the secondary weakness of then Dom DeLuca. Because all of a sudden, if you're running at Dom DeLuca with his offensive line or with a really powerful running back running downhill with a blocker, like, it just makes his job that much more difficult because they're scheming it up that Amari Campbell is not in the middle of the field to try and tackle. They're putting him in this position where he has to jump out somewhere not in the center of the field staring at the running back. They're making it that's what's happening. And so all of a sudden you take him out of it, and then you have one issue area for Penn State on the defensive line that you beat and take advantage of, and the secondary issue is you then take advantage of the linebacker core, and then you force all of these safeties to make, like Zachy Wheatley, who's played incredibly well, but you're forcing him to make really difficult plays constantly. And, like, that's not what his role is. His role is to clean up and be incredible and amazing, but it's not to every play be, like, automatically last line of defense off the bat.
And be put in a position where he needs to make a play at the line of scrimmage when he's 10 yards off the ball, and that's where they've been a lot this year.
So all of a sudden, the offense gets 7 yards downfield, and then he tackles them, but they're 7 yards downfield. And then 7 yards, next play is 8 yards. And then it's 6 more yards, and then it's 7. And then it just adds up, and here we are. So we're not letting up explosive plays, letting up a lot of big plays.
One of the, and this is going to be the problem this week, is some of the progress, because they did make progress last week.
Yeah.
I understand the rushing totals look different because of a couple of really big Gronowski runs.
Yeah.
And they weren't great, but they were better. They did force the 3 and out, which I believe was the first one in Big Ten play
They did.
all year.
It's incredible.
The reason they were able to do that is they were able to keep their linebackers in the box.
Yeah.
And they were able to play the run and not worry about passes into the flat, because they basically gave certain play types to Iowa because they were not afraid of those receivers. They were not afraid of putting those players in space. They were more afraid of the offensive line and the running game, which was the smart bet. This week, they have Sophie's choice.
Oh, boy.
If Ohio State wants to do that, they can do what Iowa did, but better, because they have better athletes on the perimeter and they have more opportunities. I'd say that the biggest, if I were Ryan Day and I wanted to play this team, I would spread the ball to run. I'd put 3 receivers out there. I would force Amari Campbell and Dom DeLuca into space and then run the ball, because that has been Penn State's biggest problem, is having to play the run in space.
Yes.
Because they have not been able to hold up at the line to allow the linebackers to fill from a more extreme angle outside the tackle box. And if you don't do that, if you don't take away grass away from the opponent, then they are free to throw screens, hitches, other things like that, short area passes, and then nickel and dime you. But against this team, I don't think they're going to stay nickels and dimes.
Nickels
down
and
the field.
dimes will become quarters. And
Exactly.
then all of a sudden, they're up 50.
Yeah.
And so it's a slippery slope against Ohio State.
Yeah. And so that is the biggest question, is how is Ohio State going to attack? Because, and again, this is not trying to be an Ohio State tailgate show, but this is the challenge. This is a team that can play a bunch of different styles, and they can just pick the one they want to use to attack Penn State. They can be a spread offense. They can throw the ball and run from that position. They can be a power offense, and they can run the ball between the tackles. They are going to make those decisions pregame, and then if they need to adjust them during the game, they can do that. Penn State does not have the diversity of skill sets to stop all those things, and so that is a bit of the what's going to show up today. And then how is the game going to go? But if I were Ryan Day, that's where I'd start, by spreading the ball. Yeah. Having seen the weakness of this team, that's where I would start. And I don't necessarily know if there is a fix for that.
No. Speaking of what's going to show up today, we're going to discuss the Penn State offensive side of that question coming up here on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, and streaming live on the Blue Illustrated YouTube channel. Kyle F., Thomas Frank Carr with you here at Legends Restaurant and Bar at the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center. There's mimosas, there's Bloody Marys, there's also water and apple juice, which is my favorite combination in the world. If I were to pick
Together?
any 2 items. Yeah.
In the same glass?
No. Different glasses.
Oh, okay.
But
All
like
right.
double fisting, apple juice and water.
I don't think you're allowed to use the term double fisting for water.
You are when it's water and apple juice, T. Frank. And coming up here on the show, we're going to get into our Coach's Corner, because we got to hear from Terry Smith this week, talk a little about the Penn State team, the Ohio State team, and just like the vibe in the building, as we've hinted at. So we'll get to that with our Coach's Corner coming up, powered by Happy Valley Adventure Bureau.
Who has time for press conferences? That's why we've set aside the most important stuff for you. It's Coach's Corner, powered by Happy Valley Adventure Bureau.
Before the season, Penn State Ohio State was the make-or-break game for the Nittany Lions. Now, it might be for Penn State to have a chance at a bowl game entirely. Interim head coach Terry Smith highlighted what the struggling Penn State team got up to in its latest bye week.
You know, we were able to reset and take a good look at where we were and how we want to continue to grow as a football team. I'm extremely happy with our players and how we approached the bye week. The energy of the building has been very positive. I'm proud of our leadership in the locker room and how connected this group is right now.
The Ohio State Buckeyes are as formidable as they come, and their strongest position has been the wide receiver position in recent years. As the now former cornerbacks coach, Terry Smith has a pretty strong grasp of the top-tier talent in the Buckeye receiver room.
You know, Ohio State has a long history of great receivers. Arguably, these two are the better ones in that list. Jeremiah Smith is as good as they come. We were hoping he'd go through this sophomore slump, but obviously he's not. He's just got everything. He's big, strong, fast, runs great routes, competes. You know, we have our hands full. So Our job on the back end is to make those guys earn it. We have to limit their explosive plays, keep the ball in front of us, make them earn their way down the field and not give up one-play scores.
Penn State helped out redshirt freshman quarterback Ethan Grunkemeyer in the 25-24 loss to Iowa with a strong ground game. The Nittany Lions, even without Vega Ioane, were able to gain 173 yards on the ground. Coach Smith sees the dual threat of Katron Allen and Nick Singleton as an area of focus if Penn State wants to upset Ohio State and take the load off the redshirt freshman.
The most important thing we have to do is be able to run the football. We have to outrush Ohio State to have a chance. Obviously, their defense is elite. They're number one defense in the country. They've got a lot of elite talent. They're big up front. They're fast in the middle, and they can cover on the back end. So, we have to be creative on offense to run the football, get Katron Allen going again. We have to find a way to get Nick Singleton going, because we're going to need those two guys. They're our two best offensive weapons.
Penn State comes into today's noon kickoff a 3-touchdown underdog. Terry Smith, touchdown with the 21-point line, is feeding into the Penn State locker room as they get set to take on the Buckeyes today in the shoe.
Yeah, you use it as motivation, but I don't know if we're allowed to because of what these gambling rules now. Can I even talk about point spreads, So I don't know. Obviously no one's giving us a chance. And I'm going to, reemphasize that to our team. I don't think we've ever been 20-point underdogs since I've been here, but it's motivation. No one believes in us. We're going to come out and fight like we did at Iowa, but we're going to fight a little harder.
That was your Penn State Coach's Corner. More from the Tailgate Show in a moment.
I got two this week that will flow right into our Penn State-Ohio State preview. One that looks backward at the 2025 Penn State season. FIU catching 3.5 tonight. I think that is a really interesting team. Their record so far is not necessarily as good as I thought it would be in Conference USA play, but they are 3-4 on the year at this point, playing at Missouri State. And I believe Devon Townley, former Penn State player, is with Missouri State. I could be wrong on that, but I'm fairly confident that is the case. At any rate, FIU is catching 3.5 tonight, just like that team, like that offense. So they are our best bet for me. And then let's get into the two, T. Frank, what will lead into our Penn State-Ohio State conversation. First one, not the biggest fan in the world of bets that are minus 150, but it caught my eye immediately this morning while preparing for this segment. BetMGM offering a prop bet that both Penn State and Ohio State will score 10 points apiece at minus 150. It just jumped off the page to me. It may be a little steep in terms of the price you have to pay to wager on it. $15 will win you 10. But I just think that there's a lot of people who are assuming Penn State's going to get shut out in this game or that they won't score a touchdown. I'm not saying they're scoring 21 to 24 to 27 points, but I do think they'll find some way, somehow. And again, they don't really care how the 10 points come. They don't care if they all come in the fourth quarter against a fourth-string Ohio State defense. If they come on an opening kickoff touchdown return and then Penn State only adds, a late field goal or a touchdown, or if this game is super competitive and shocks everyone. Certainly I think Fox executives would love that for this big noon kickoff game. But I think
what if it ends 13-10? How about that?
Well, then you will get your money back at BetMGM as a push. But I just think that there's some points coming in this game for both, certainly Ohio State, and I just think even though the Ohio State defense very, very good, and Penn State, we all know the situation with Ethan Grunkemeyer and the way this offense is, I think they can get Katron Allen going a bit. I think they find the end zone at some point. I just need 6 points somewhere else along the way, or 3 and a safety if you really want to get desperate. But I just think that is a good way to maybe attack this game this weekend.
Yeah, I think both teams. So 10 or more points. So they have to score more than 10?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, I can see Penn State scoring 10 points. That's a tough line. I can see 10.
Let me just confirm
13,
that,
sure. Like, I can see 13. I don't. Again, like Ryan Day said it earlier this week, Penn State's they have talent. Like, it's the way the talent is fitting together. It's not that they are untalented. And if they found a way to make it all work better in the bye week, I would say that's reasonable to think they can score 13 points.
It is 10 or more. I did have that in my notes and forget. Yeah, so it's 10 or more. So 10 gets the job done for you. 10 would
10
get the
for
job
sure.
done. Yes. So I think it's a good play. I really do.
We are here live on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3. Kyle F. Thomas Frank Carr with you here at Legends Restaurant and Bar at the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center. We are on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. And it is an interesting day today. It's chilly, it's cold, people are here having fun, drinking mimosas, drinking Bloody Marys, having a blast. I'm double fisting water and apple juice. My apple juice is gone right now, so I can't do it at the moment and show you on camera. But at least I can say that I've done it and make T. Frank just shake his head in disappointment and shame that I have apple juice all the time because I'm a child.
Apple juice. I also just can't drink apple juice. Like that's a personal flaw.
You know what?
There's something in the world that I can't have, and that's a bummer.
And I can drink apple juice. You know who else can drink apple juice and not mimosas and Bloody Marys? People under 21. You know who's under 21? Most of the Penn State quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Not like Drew Aller, right? They're all under 21.
I did not see that transition coming, but that's a great point.
And that brings me to my question for you, Mr. Thomas Frank Carr, sir. So, of course, Drew Aller is traveling with the team. He's there supporting them, but he is out for this season. And we last week, or 2 weeks ago, you and I got to watch Ethan Grunkemeyer and Jackson Smolik play quarterback for this Penn State team. Jackson Smolik got hurt in the game for Penn State against Iowa, so Ethan Grunkemeyer is still going to play. Who could we see behind the ball getting snaps this week for this Penn State offense?
Ethan Grunkemeyer, and then hope and a prayer. Like that's where you are with this particular team. You want to make sure that Ethan Grunkemeyer is the starting quarterback under center the entire time. So I want to respect Penn State's desire to have some subterfuge in their system. So what they've done over the last 2 weeks is they have not shown us the offense. They have had all the quarterbacks in light blue jerseys, which are non-contact jerseys, right? Jackson Smolik has come out with one white glove.
Yes.
You know, like very Michael
Jackson.
Very Michael Jackson style. Yeah. And long sleeves.
Okay. So he, if I could guess here.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna.
He's not gonna play. Like, okay, the game's in like 2 hours. He's had a cast on his wrist. You can't play quarter, even if it's your non-throwing hand. Catching a snap requires two hands.
It does.
And running the football requires putting two hands on the ball.
And it requires not having a club as an arm.
Yeah, so I do not think that Jackson Smolik is available, but they wanted to have that kind of illusion that it's going to be there. And here's the thing, is like it's still going to be there. The two quarterback system is still going to be there for a lot of different reasons. If I had to guess, based on the things I've seen, the second quarterback, the running option, there's a good chance it's Liam Clifford. Not Sean Clifford, Liam Clifford.
Could it be Sean Clifford in Liam Clifford's jersey on and just?
Everyone has suggested that this week, and I think it's a great idea. I don't think he's not with the Packers anymore, right? Like he's not even on their practice squad. So
he was on a practice squad.
He's probably available. Okay, well, either way, I think he can. I think Cliff could figure out how to do a wildcat in a couple of days.
He could.
So earlier this year, they had Liam Clifford try to throw an option pass. I think it was against Northwestern.
And how did it go?
He barely took he did not take a sack. He did not throw the ball. He ran for a yard. But we've seen at Kansas when Andy Kotelnicki was down quarterbacks and didn't have enough to run, like what he wants to run.
Yes.
He took players from other positions and played them under center, including running backs, and they had a walk-on quarterback that was more of a running back than a quarterback. So when there's not a passing threat in that package anyway, it does, I think, it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
So you could see three running backs out there. You could see Liam Clifford under center. You could see a bunch of different things that we've seen from Andy Kotelnicki, and that is going to be part of the offense. That's not something that's leaving because you don't want to get Ethan Grunkemeyer hurt. Although I do think he's going to run the ball a little bit.
Yeah.
There's some elements and there's some things I saw during practice this week where they are going to try and put Nick Singleton in a position to run the ball the same way he did in high school.
And what does that look like?
Just pitch him the ball outside and have him run as fast and as hard as he can in a straight line.
You know what? It could work.
Yeah.
That's what I've been asking for all season.
So that's where we are, is they're going back to high school concepts from his time at Governor Mifflin to try and get him comfortable, to accentuate his speed and his burst.
May I make a point on this? You know what? If there's 1 week to do that, it's this week.
Yeah.
Because, as we've said, Penn State has really nothing to lose at this point.
Well, in this situation...
They do. They have pride to lose.
Yeah.
But, you know what? Try things.
So in this situation, if they do what I think they're going to do, then Ethan Grunkmeyer does have an option to run the football.
Okay.
And I don't love that against this defense, which is hyper athletic. Because that's the other thing is like these linebackers for Ohio State are very athletic. And so some of the things that they can do, it doesn't matter if you run the option or not. And Penn State, again, has athletic players on their side of the ball as well. And that is why. Here's why. So the chat is already telling that Nick Singleton isn't any good, right? And he needs like the.
So where did the past 3 years go?
But it's not even necessarily that. It's that they need an explosive element on this offense.
Yep.
They do not have a player that is fast enough to threaten the defense. And I understand, like, listen, we're on the same page of it's not effective. It has not been good.
No.
But the reason they're sticking with it is because none of the 3 transfer receivers are home run threats. Katron Allen is a very good running back, and he can break some tackles. He could be a home run threat. Luke Reynolds is an athletic tight end, but tight ends aren't home run threats.
Yeah.
Singleton is the only player with 4.3 speed that's on the field. And so they need to find other players that can generate those threats. Nick Singleton is one, and they're hoping that those young receivers drink, by the way, this Penn State football season, like those young receivers on your bingo card, finally got to it on the show today. They're hoping those players can provide the explosiveness. We always say spark.
Yeah.
What we're saying is make plays outside of structure. Be explosive in some way or another where you catch the ball or you get the ball, you break a tackle, and you generate yards over what the offensive scheme is giving you. And nobody has done that this year. It has been constipated.
Yes.
The offense has been just the yards that are there, stop the play, try again.
We're really throwing in all the references in here today.
We're now into November.
If
It's
anyone has-
November 1st. I've run out of cuter ways to say things.
If there's any laxative brands or apple juice brands out there, we're here. I'm Kyle F.
This is your fault. You brought up apple juice, so I just went the other way. That's all.
I appreciate it. And you mentioned the linebackers for this Ohio State defense. Arvell Reese has been one of the best players in all of college sports this season. Like, he has been incredible for this Penn State defense. Sonny Styles, also a really good linebacker. Bring in Caden Curry on the defensive end, who's got 7 sacks for them. And then, of course, the guy who might be is a first-round pick this coming season, Caleb Downs is there. He still exists. They are a really good defense. Igbinosun, I believe, is still in the secondary for them.
Yep.
So, like, Penn State's going to go up against a really good defense in Ohio State. And, like, as you mentioned, someone's got to do something. Like, all of these Ohio State defensive players are really fast and strong and athletic. They're all really, really, really good.
But other than that, like, I think it's a ball game. So actually, this is where I think, a little more hope than Penn State fans. Again, I think there's opportunities here. What I see on film is there are opportunities to make plays if the quarterback can find the right situation.
Yes.
Because this defense, first off, let's talk about the run game. And Penn State, Terry Smith said that they need to run the ball. They need to outrush Ohio State. Now, if that's for 89 yards and Penn State gets 110 yards, or if that's for 200 yards and Ohio State gets 150, it doesn't matter. That needs to be some of the mathematics here. But this is a really good run defense because of some of the things that they've incorporated with Matt Patricia is they run a true multiple system where they're running 3 down fronts, 5 down fronts, and 4 down fronts. And they can go between those pretty seamlessly because of Arvell Reese. It's his abilities as a linebacker, as a true two-way player, which we've talked about at Penn State before. Like, Abdul Carter was a pass rusher.
Yeah.
Denine Dennis Sutton, can't believe I made that mistake. Micah Parsons was a linebacker who was okay in coverage, but an elite run defender and an elite pass rusher, elite blitzer. Arvell Reese, I haven't seen him a lot in coverage, but he's been decent in coverage.
Yeah.
But he gives you like a true two-way player.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't see a lot of pass rush on this defense.
No.
They're really great at stopping the run and putting you in situations where they obviously have the advantage. if Penn State can run the ball, this defense, when they want to get home with 4, gives you a lot of clean pockets.
Yeah.
Luke Altmaier, Damon Williams, or I think
Damon Williams.
Damon Williams at Washington, they had clean pockets to throw from. They couldn't find open receivers. That was the problem.
Is incredible.
Yes, and so, but when that team then doesn't get home with 4 and they blitz, you just have fewer numbers. And so I do think that if Penn State is able to hold up against the pressure, which I don't think is particularly great, the funny thing is because they've had the lead so long, they have point privilege on this defense.
Yes.
Where they can always be at the advantage. Their numbers aren't bad in terms of pass rush, in terms of sacks, win rate, pressure rate. So, I know what I'm about to say is super narrow. But if you look at in the first half of games this year, and you look at their 4-man pass rush, which is what they want to get home with most of the time. They want to selectively blitz, and they want to play everyone wants to play a 4-man pass rush.
Yes.
They're 9th in the Big Ten in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback.
They're mid.
Yeah, they're fine. Caden Curry is a good pass rusher, but he is not up to the level of, I would even say, JT Tuimoloau or Jack Sawyer. So when that's what you got, then I think there's an opportunity. The other thing is they do specifically try to keep the quarterback in the pocket. They do a lot of cage rushing. They don't necessarily go after the quarterback at the sacrifice of everything else. So there is, again, a little bit of doubt of, is it that or is it the other thing? But at a certain point, I still just don't see them getting a lot of pressure all the time.
No.
And Ethan Grunkmeyer, this is a grow-up game for him. Last game against Iowa, everyone saw him visibly short circuit when he got a blitz that he didn't expect, and he tried to run away. Not just scramble, he tried to run away.
Yes.
And then he, I think, threw the ball away on that play.
He did.
You're going to get those against this team. You have to focus and stay calm in the pocket because there's space out there to throw the ball. There's opportunity to throw the ball. And this is another thing that Terry Smith we said earlier in the week, this is the part of the game that they focused on changing. It's the pure drop-back game.
Yeah.
And I do expect there to be some progress there this week, even against Ohio State.
Well, we will see the progress coming up in a couple hours, but we are here live. Kyle Leftheimer's Frank Carr at Legends Restaurant and Bar at the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus. Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3. Streaming live on the Blue Illustrated YouTube channel on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. And we're going to head on over to a quick break, where we're throwing it over to This Week in Penn State Sports, because multiple teams found themselves this week in Columbus, not just Penn State football. A lot of teams were there. We'll get to that and the rest of this week coming up with This Week in Penn State Sports, powered by Miller's Hoagies.
It's more than just football at Penn State. Here's This Week in Penn State Sports, brought to you by Miller's Hoagies.
Penn State men's hockey is racking up wins. Gavin McKenna and co. knocked off the Ohio State Buckeyes in a comeback 3-2 victory Thursday night. The 8-1 start brought the Nittany Lions back again for a second dose of the Ohio State squad Friday night as well. Guy Gadowski's team is back on the road next weekend, heading up to an East Lansing matchup with the Michigan State Spartans that is hotly anticipated for the top 5. Friday's action saw a slew of Penn State teams competing, from the men's soccer team also battling it out in Columbus to the cross-country team taking part in the Big Ten Championships, women's ice hockey at Robert Morris, and Katie Schumacher-Colley's women's volleyball team taking their talents to Ann Arbor against the Wolverines. To the pro ranks, where special teams were king for the Baltimore Ravens. Former Nittany Lion punter Jordan Stout put on a clinic against the Dolphins with 6 punts averaging 56 yards per, including 4 inside the 20-yard line. 2 Penn State tight ends face off in Pittsburgh this Sunday as Tyler Warren and the 7-1 Colts take on Pat Freiermuth and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That game can be heard locally here on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, beginning at 11 a.m. with the pregame show. Former Penn Staters Connor McGovern and Daquan Jones will lead the charge for the Bills in Buffalo as Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs find their way into Orchard Park for a 4 p.m. matchup that can be listened to locally on the Big Pig in Olean. That was This Week in Penn State Sports. Back to the Tailgate Show in a moment.
Have you heard of Wave Fruit Farm? It's this great farm market bakery and cafe. You can shop with them either at their farm in Port Matilda or downtown State College.
No way.
Yes, Wave Fruit Farm. They have all sorts of seasonal fruits and veggies.
Way cool.
No, Wave Fruit Farm. But anyway, You should visit their bakery and cafe. They serve amazing food all day.
Way.
Fruit Farm!
Let's now get into our game predictions. Ryan, you've been chomping at the bit to give us our game predictions. I'm still going to put your graphic up because I'm a creature of habit.
You're fine.
Actually, no. What's your score? What's
I originally had
the score you
32-14. You can put it up. I did change it to 32-10. I just thought about it more, and when I look at some of these defensive numbers and what I really saw from Penn State under Grunkmeyer at Iowa too. I mean, let's not forget the block kick for a touchdown and the gift of an interception that helped lead the points, and then also some of the other mistakes Iowa made. Where was there an offsides at one point, and then gave Catron a second opportunity? Like when you look at some of that stuff, there was still a lot you'd want to see as far as that Iowa game goes. And now here you are going against Ohio State. It's just hard for me to really think that all of a sudden this offense is going to put up 21 points and stick within this game. I think on the opposite side, Julian Saint's completing 80% of his passes for a reason. I think it's like 78%, and that's because Ohio State has wide receivers that are as good as anybody in the country. Cardinal Tate, Jeremiah Smith are electric. I think Penn State's secondary corners have been all right. As Sean said, the safeties, I think, have improved to some degree, but it's nobody really can match up with these guys, and there's a reason that they're completing and being as successful as they are in that manner. So 32-10 is kind of where I went. I know Penn State fans want to maybe bet it because it's such a big number, but I wouldn't touch it.
How did they land on 32? That's what we all want to know. 32.
How did I land on 32?
Yeah.
Oh,
safety?
Couple field goals. They're gonna. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't even know.
I love
I just
looking at obscure numbers and being like, I don't know how this will work, and then sometimes it hits. So.
Yeah,
Well, Fitz,
I guess
did you
it would
give us
be
an
multiple field goals, but yeah, go ahead.
Fitz, did you give us an obscure number? What's your prediction?
No, my prediction is fairly straightforward. 31-10 is correct there. I do think that from looking into what Ohio State likes to do on offense, that they sort of cut themselves off, if you will, with the number of plays that they run, the number of the way that they shorten the game on their own, which is fascinating to me because it's always the flip side, right? It's always the bad team has to sit on the ball and all this kind of, or the worst team has to sit on the ball. And Ohio State's like, okay, well, we're going to be fine. And by the time we get to the playoff, we will have played 2 games fewer worth of snaps than you did. So they're going to be fresh for the playoff. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work. My wild card here is that Ryan Day wants to make an example of Jim Knowles and decides, okay, well, we're just going to torch you. And I think they're capable of that. Flipping the switch a lot harder than it would seem.
99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, streaming live on the Blue Illustrated YouTube channel. Kyle F., Thomas Frank Carr with you here on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, celebrating more than 40 years of service to the community. Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships has a vehicle to fit your budget and transportation needs. Home of the $1,000 lowest price guarantee with 20 locations throughout Pennsylvania. It is now time to head around the Big Ten. Before we do that, Mr. Thomas Frank Carr, sir, the availability report is out.
Yep.
Is my name on it?
No, but yes. You are also out for today. But more importantly, because you're not in Columbus, bro. Do you have like a supersonic jet or something?
I'm not Steve Jones. I can't get there in an hour and a half.
Yeah. So Jackson Smolik is out, which is what we were trying to tell you earlier. Is like he had a cast on his wrist the whole week. He's not playing. Other than that, everything is pretty much the same. The only names that I think are new here would be Owen Wafel, Penn State's defensive tackle, their 4th defensive tackle, and then Tyke Hayes, who is a freshman running back, talented player. Mm-hmm. He's been on the D squad most of the year. So those are the names I think that are most important on this list. Nobody is questionable, and nobody is out for the season, even though we know half these players are out for the season. Mm-hmm. But Penn State and the availability report are not necessarily compatible, I would say.
No, they are not. There's about 20 names on that list.
Yeah.
That is 20 more names than you want to see on an availability report.
So can we talk about the situation at quarterback now with a little more clarity?
Yeah.
Now that we have that official information and we can discuss that.
Which is Ethan Grunkemeyer.
Yep.
Beckham Kritza, Jack Lambert, and Liam Clifford.
I would say the most likely players to see the field if there is a situation beyond Ethan Grunkmeyer's Jack Lambert, the walk-on. Beckham Kritza is a freshman who was a developmental project. He's also had a cast on his throwing hand for most of this season, the regular season. He was a 6'5", 175-pound senior in high school. 185, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
He is a very lean, strong arm, elite arm strength, really inconsistent mechanics, not necessarily somebody who... He bounced around to a lot of high schools, from Colorado to Miami to California to Colorado again to Miami again, and then was benched his senior season and did not finish as a starting quarterback in high school. So I'm just telling you the facts of Beckham Kritza. And he has struggled to, I think, learn defense through all of that, to learn how to read a defense and throw. A lot of what he did was after the snap, or it was like a 5-wide offense where it's like you just pick the open receiver running a hitch route. And so you don't want that guy on the field today. As much as he is the backup quarterback, the ringing endorsement that Terry Smith gave him is he is a quarterback on our roster.
He exists.
He is available, which he has not been available earlier this year. So Jack Lambert, big time to shine for him. But again, to go back to that 2-quarterback system, it doesn't have to be a quarterback because Penn State didn't even allow Jackson Smolik in the Iowa game to have a throwing option on those plays. I think after 2 weeks here of now almost a month of them installing this package of 2 quarterbacks and having a wildcat option, I do think even a Liam Clifford, who we said I think is the emergency quarterback, but is very clearly, from what I saw in practice, going to be on the option side of this, no pun intended, as the player who they're going to put under center that isn't a quarterback to run the football and then have select passing options off of that. I do think that if there's one thing I'm looking for in this game is that wildcat package. They want to run the ball. They want to spread the defense out laterally, put a safety or a linebacker in a one-on-one situation with Clifford and with a running back, and then have that throwing element as part of it. They've tried to have him throw the ball previously at one time. So, again, we're going off of the evidence of one play, but putting 2 and 2 together are context clues. I don't know anybody else. I know that people have said Chaz Coleman was a high school quarterback. We're not going there. Luke Reynolds was a high school quarterback. We're not going there. I think that's going to be, they're going to trust the senior. They're going to trust the veteran who, has seen his playing time decrease anyway.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what I'm looking for at the quarterback position.
Okay.
It's Ethan Grunkmeyer, and then hold your breath.
Well, I can't wait to hear Jack Ham on the call talking about Jack Lambert. I can't wait for that part. That's what I'm excited for. That's where I get my
That's a
joy.
throwback.
That is a throwback. And now we're throwing it on over to the rest of the Big Ten, heading around the Big Ten here on the show. Powered on up by Valley View Retirement Community. The other Big Ten games going on. Yeah.
Sorry.
The other Big
Just
Ten
reminds
games.
me. I know I'm derailing you.
Show.
Just reminds
The show
me.
community.
Yes.
It's a good show. Donald Glover, I believe, on it. Childish Gambino.
Well, it reminds me of that, but it also reminds me of Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, yes. Is he available to quarterback this team?
That'd be a better option, I think.
He might be. Heading on over here to around the Big Ten, you've got Rutgers at Illinois. That game taking place in Champaign at noon on NBC. You have Indiana heading on the road to Maryland. Fran Mendoza and co. going to College Park. Michigan State taking on Minnesota. That should be a fun game, I guess, in Minneapolis. Purdue against Michigan in Ann Arbor, and then USC at Nebraska.
That's the big
is
game.
The big game in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Other games going on around the nation, the top 25. At noon, Vanderbilt versus Texas is a big game in the SEC. You have Miami against SMU, West Virginia against Houston, Louisville against Virginia Tech. You have Georgia versus Florida, Notre Dame versus BC, Texas Tech versus Kansas State, Virginia versus Cal, South Carolina versus Ole Miss, Georgia Tech versus NC State, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and then Cincinnati, Utah. Not a lot of major games going on. I guess Vandy, Texas is the quote-unquote big one, but I'm not excited to watch.
Yeah.
It's you know what? It's still Halloween. That's what I think it is. It's still Halloween. We can go and enjoy Halloween and movies and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll go watch Young Frankenstein and enjoy myself.
We didn't get to that last night. We got to get to that tonight after the game.
You have to get to that. And I have a question I wanted to get to with you, Mr. Thomas Frank Carson.
Yeah, you've left me in the dark about this.
So more coaching news took place this past week. Brian Kelly was let go from LSU.
Yep.
And I have a question for you of who in the LSU organization would you like to decide who your next coach is?
I feel like this is a trick question. I feel like you're just trying to get me in trouble. I'm not going to – I don't – this is one of those things where, don't wind me up and let me go because I'm going to get canceled.
I know.
So
this is more of a statement of Penn State has an athletic director right now in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
LSU does not. And it is becoming a crazier and crazier. You think Penn State is in a crazy spot right now. LSU fans I have seen because I follow the New Orleans Saints, and there are a lot of LSU fan overlaps there.
Yeah.
They are just cackling, I think, because they don't know what's happening, and they don't think they'll know what's happening in about 5 years.
Yeah. The
Because
best
there's
thing
no-
possible is to get politicians involved in your football.
Yes.
That's never gone wrong.
gone wrong.
Ever.
And-
And certainly not a guy
yes.
who's looking for just like some self-promotion
Yeah.
and not necessarily looking out for the best
Yeah.
interest of the football team.
And for those wondering out there, LSU does not have a president and does not have an athletic director right now. Neither one, nor a head coach. They are missing all three. Penn State at least has two of three.
It reminds me of the, those memes of the Hydra with the 3 different heads, and there's like
Yeah.
the serious one, the
Cut
mean
one off
and
and-
yeah. What if you cut all 3 of them off, and it's just a picture of just stumps waving around? That's what LSU is
Three
right now.
goofy heads.
Yeah, but
floating around there.
the problem is behind them is a money tree. And
Yes.
so that's going to fix a lot of problems.
Yes.
There's been some, obvious. We can take a quick moment here to talk about the Penn State coaching search. I think it's very interesting to look at the conversation that's evolving around Penn State football and the way that Pat Kraft has framed this narrative about Penn State, that it is the top program in the country. It is where you can come here and you can win a national championship. And that's an obvious thing.
Yes.
There's been some awful announcing. Just put out an article about Urban Meyer had significant interest in the job, and I don't know that there was reciprocal interest, but at the same time, they said that NIL was a significant was a derailer of the conversation.
And in what regards?
That there's not enough of it.
Okay.
That Penn State does not have enough NIL support to be a viable job, which, by the way, is what the other guy was saying as well. Now, how he spent the money that he had is I think, a valid conversation about why he was let go. Some of the things that we've heard, some of the things that Pat Kraft has said, fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, maximize the resources you do have, and I do not think that they did that in the transfer portal this year. So if that's your rationale, great. But if you're going to go out there and tell these other top coaching candidates, Penn State's making big swings this offseason, if nobody's buying it, that's a problem.
And you are sitting here, and yes, Penn State's a big job, but there are other big jobs that are of equal size, if not larger, out there.
Yeah.
LSU and Florida are probably, I'd say, bigger jobs. And we know what the NIL resources look like at both those schools.
Yeah.
And LSU throws a lot of money, and they have the entirety of Louisiana's recruitment area for themselves. Plus, you then have Florida with the name brand of it and the size of it. Like, they are also a huge program with a huge NIL structure.
And it's also the programs that currently have the coaches that Penn State is going after. We've seen them re-signing at their current institutions. So, again, for Penn State fans, this should be a wake-up call.
Yeah.
That, and I'm not speaking to the people that are watching this YouTube channel and directly of being like, you need to donate, but this is the idea that Penn State can just go out on their brand with the Lion logo and the blue and white and say, we're better than everybody else. The new era of college football is about, again, it's about campaign finance. It is about bringing in as much money into the institution as possible and having that as a weapon. And so, success with honor. I've been thinking a lot about that like the last couple of weeks. Really? Success comes first in the sentence.
It does.
And so, if that's your justification for moving on from James Franklin because they weren't having enough success, that's fine. But what does success mean? What is your definition of success? You have to be successful in all phases of college football in order to be competitive and have the success on the field. And then we can discuss the honorable part of it. But if you think that success is the thing, then there has to be recalibration by this organization. And this is the gamble that Pat Kraft is making, that he can sell that idea, the brand of doing it the right way with all the resources at Penn State. Maybe they have them, maybe they don't. And then find the guy who can get Penn State over the top.
The question is, who's it going to be? We don't know, and we're not paid to tell you exactly who the answer is going to be because that's Pat Kraft's job.
Yeah.
So we get to sit here and drink apple juice and drink water and have a great time. It's Kyle F. Thomas Rincaro with you here on 99.5 107.5.
It's just that I don't get to participate. I can't drink apple juice. You could have picked any other juice other than orange juice.
Cranberry juice.
Well, here's the thing: is like I actually can't have sugar, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Water. We drink water. And it is Kyle F. Thomas from Car with you here on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus. Bigfoot Country Legends, 137, 104.3. Streaming live on the Blue Issue YouTube channel on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships at Legends Restaurant and Bar at the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center. We're now going to throw it on over to a break before we get to our predictions coming up in just a few moments.
Have you heard of Wave Fruit Farm? It's this great farm market bakery and cafe. You can shop with them either at their farm in Port Matilda or downtown State College.
No way.
Yes, Wave Fruit Farm. They have all sorts of seasonal fruits and veggies.
Way cool.
No, Wave Fruit Farm. But anyway, you should visit their bakery and cafe. They serve amazing food all day.
Way.
Fruit Farm.
Let's now get into our game predictions. Ryan, you've been chomping at the bit to give us our game predictions. I'm still going to put your graphic up because I'm a creature of habit.
You're fine.
Actually, no. What's your score? What's
I originally had 32-14. You can put it up. I did change it 32-10. I just thought about it more, and when I look at some of these defensive numbers and what I really saw from Penn State under Grunkmeyer at Iowa too. I mean, let's not forget the block kick for a touchdown and the gift of an interception that helped lead the points. And then also some of the other mistakes Iowa made where was there an offsides at one point and then gave Catron a second opportunity. Like when you look at some of that stuff, there was still a lot you'd want to see as far as that Iowa game goes. And now here you are going against Ohio State. It's just hard for me to really think that all of a sudden this offense is going to put up 21 points and stick within this game. I think on the opposite side, Julian Saint's completing 80% of his passes for a reason. I think it's like 78%, and that's because Ohio State has wide receivers that are as good as anybody in the country. Cardinal Tate, Jeremiah Smith are electric. I think Penn State's secondary corners have been all right. As Sean said, the safeties I think have improved to some degree, but it's nobody really can match up with these guys, and there's a reason that they're completing and being as successful as they are in that manner. So 32-10 is kind of where I went. I know Penn State fans want to maybe bet it because it's such a big number, but I wouldn't touch it.
How did they land on 32? That's what we all want to know. 32.
How did I land on 32?
Yeah.
Oh,
Safety?
Couple field goals. They're gonna. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't even know.
I love
I just
looking at obscure numbers and being like, I don't know how this will work, and then sometimes it hits. So.
Yeah,
Well, Fitz,
I guess it would be
any
multiple field goals, but yeah, go ahead.
Fitz, did you give us an obscure number? What's your prediction?
No, my prediction is fairly straightforward. 31-10 is correct there. I do think that from looking into what Ohio State likes to do on offense, that they sort of cut themselves off, if you will, with the number of plays that they run, the number of the way that they shorten the game on their own, which is fascinating to me because it's always the flip side, right? It's always the bad team has to sit on the ball and all this kind of, or the worst team has to sit on the ball. And Ohio State's like, okay, well, we're going to be fine. And by the time we get to the playoff, we will have played 2 games fewer worth of snaps than you did. So they're going to be fresh for the playoff. So I'm curious to see how that's going to work. My wild card here is that Ryan Day wants to make an example of Jim Knowles and decides, okay, well, we're just going to torch you. And I think they're capable of that. Flipping the switch, a lot harder than it would seem.
It is now time here on the Penn State Tailgate Show, driven by Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, for our predictions. Kyle F. Thomas, Frank Carr with you here on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, and streaming live all the time on the Blue Issue YouTube channel here at Legends Restaurant and Bar at the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center. Mr. Thomas, Frank Carr, sir, in terms of the sheer numbers of it, Penn State is not favored by 18.5 points.
I was going to say, where did the spread end this week?
It ends it at 18.5 for Ohio State over Penn State. The over-under at 44.5. So the over-under has gone up, and the spread has gone down.
Interesting.
So
people think Penn State is going to score points in this game. Based on
they
that.
think Penn State's going to score points and make it close.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it, sir. Yeah. Where is your prediction sitting at? Where are you going into this game? We've heard from Sean Fitz. We've heard from Nate Bauer. Your predictions, Thomas, Frank Carr, Penn State, Ohio State in Columbus, in the shoe. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be a little bit conservative on the points for the Ohio State side. So if this game goes the way that most of the games this year have gone, again, what Ohio State has been this year, which is the ball control offense that is just super efficient, scores touchdowns, not field goals. There's going to be 8 possessions for Penn State, probably, somewhere 8, 9, and then Ohio State's going to get 10. So if they score on 50% of those, 35 points seems reasonable. I think 38 is more likely. And for Penn State, it may look good for most of the time, and I think they will make them fight for it. I think they will make them earn it. It will be an honorable death, 35-13. That's my score.
That is a fair prediction. My prediction here, powered by Metzler Forest Products Landscape Center.
Oh, wow.
You see the number in there.
Yeah.
I think at the start of the game, Penn State will put up a fight. And then as the second quarter rolls on, the ball will kind of start rolling downhill the boulder. And as it rolls, it gets faster and faster and faster. 52-13 Ohio State. I think this is going to be rough. I don't think we're getting to 60, but I see a lot of fire alarms going off in my head, especially as you mentioned earlier with the Ryan Day and Brian Hartline against Jim Knowles. I think those two will want to run up the score on Jim Knowles and really put the hammer into the coffin of Jim Knowles with Ohio State.
Yeah.
Really kind of hammer it down. And what better way to do that than put up a 50-piece on Penn State? I think Penn State will score some points.
Yeah.
13 feels like the right number. You have for 13 as well. It feels like the number that fits.
This could be the first blowout.
Yes.
I mean, Penn State hasn't blown anybody out, and they haven't gotten blown out in a really long time.
This feels like the makings of a blowout are here.
We're to the point now where I remember, was it Jordan Travis got hurt for Florida State, and they didn't have any quarterbacks,
Yes.
right? I feel like every year Florida State's on their 4th quarterback is basically what I'm trying to say. It's over the years, I feel like I've seen them playing a freshman more times than not for some reason. And I always think of if you're down to your emergency quarterback, it just reminds me of Florida State. It's wild being here for covering Penn State for so long. They've been so consistent. Yes, they've played their backup quarterback, but they've always had a reliable backup quarterback. And I do think Ethan Grunkemeyer is a reliable backup quarterback, but they've never been in a situation where the starter was out for the season.
Yeah.
This is just a wild place to be, man. And it is, if you're going to get blown out, it's because your quarterback is hurt and your best defender that you couldn't lose is also hurt. And voila, here we are. They just have played bad teams and haven't gotten blown out, right? So there's this there is this I don't want to say it's a mirage because I don't want to take away. This is the thing is it is disrespectful to take away the effort that these players have put in. I will die on this hill.
Okay.
There was a conversation that we were having on the Blue White Illustrated message board the other day, and somebody asked, rhetorically, was that a $40 million effort against Northwestern? You can't. Show me what a $10 million effort looks like. Show me what a $30 million. Effort is measured in effort. There is no tangible way to measure it. And money is not a way to measure effort.
No.
These players play for a lot of reasons. Some of them are playing for money. Some of them are playing for a future. Some of them are playing because they love Penn State, believe it or not, that is still happening in college football. And I don't want to disrespect those players and doing a thing that is very dangerous and very brave to even be on a football field. So there is a certain level of I won't go beyond that line. I think that they have been playing as hard as they can. But there is a certain amount of the 13 points between all of these losses is a little bit of a mirage where they have not been competitive on defense to make these things be the way that they have been.
And that's why I see the end of the Iowa game, and I'm that's where my big glaring red flashing light saying error, 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 error is.
Yeah.
Where Penn State at the end of the Iowa game, just the defense made mistakes and Iowa capitalized on it. But if there's a team that's going to capitalize on mistakes more often, it's going to be the number 1 team in the nation.
That does not make mistakes.
Doesn't make mistakes.
They don't make mistakes on their side.
That has 2 of the best receivers in the nation. Jeremiah Smith is a literal otherworldly talent, and Carnell Tate is incredible.
He might be the closest thing we've seen to Calvin Johnson.
Yes.
Physically, his abilities,
They are incredible. And then Max Clare is a really good tight end. And Bo Jackson and C.J. Donaldson are really good running backs. And Julian Sands is a good quarterback. So if team's going to capitalize on the Penn State errors, it's going to be this Ohio State team.
Yeah.
And that wraps up our time here on the show. It's been an interesting one.
Yeah.
Discussing everything from apple juice to laxatives and
I didn't think it was going to go that way today, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either, but thank you for joining myself, Kyle F., with Thomas Frank Carr here on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, Bigfoot Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, streaming live on the Blue Illustrated YouTube channel, live from Legends Restaurant and Bar at the Penn State Hotel and Conference Center. We're going to throw it on over now to Mr. Steve Jones, Jack Ham, Roger Corey in Columbus.